Greetings all. Tonight we're going after the Cat's Paw Nebula. Now the Cat's Paw Nebula is an emission nebula out in the constellation of Scorpius. It's kind of famous because it's shaped like a cat's paw. You'll see that. Some of its highlights are it's got these big clumps or bubble looking things of hydrogen gas. These are actually active star forming regions. So you'll get a good look at those if our pictures come out. Now, the Cat's Paw Nebula doesn't come up above the horizon until around 2 a.m. Now, I don't want to waste half of the night not doing anything. So while we're waiting on the Cat's Paw Nebula to come up at 2 a.m., we're going to take a picture of Markarian's chain. Now, Markarian's chain is just, it's a line, kind of a curved line of a whole bunch of galaxies that sit out in the Virgo cluster. So I'm going to try to frame those up using the Z103 so we can get most of Markarian's chain in there. If I do this right, you'll probably be able to see 20 or 25 galaxies in the final photo. Now the Cat's Paw Nebula is going to come up right behind that tall pine tree yonder in the southeast sky. Then it's going to arc around the sky. It's never going to get too high above those trees. And then when it crosses due south, the highest it's going to be is about 25 degrees, 25, 30. And then it's going to come on along this way and then disappear behind those trees right out yonder. So that's the path that our Cat's Paw Nebula is going to take tonight. All right, here we are ready to get going on the Cat's Paw Nebula. You can see it here in my planetarium. Let me show you what I've done already. You see that it's almost 1:30, it's 1:20 at night, and I didn't want to waste a night, so I've been shooting Markarian's chain up until now, getting ready to switch over to the Cat's Paw Nebula. Anyhow, here's the last image I took of the Markarian's chain with the green filter. So I will be back with you when it is almost done with the blue image and getting ready to switch. Now, while we're waiting on our target to come up, I wanted to show you what I was talking about in the intro about how it just moves along the southern sky and skirts the top of my trees. So here it is coming over here coming up in the southeast. And I'm going to fast forward time, and I want you to watch how it doesn't ever rise very high in the sky. It just kind of skirts around the south there. So let's watch how it moves. So right there due south, that's the highest it ever gets in the sky. You can see here it's 25 degrees 40 up in the sky. That's as high as it ever gets. And then from this point on, it's going to descend lower and lower until it goes back behind the horizon to me. So because of that short distance, of course it gets daylight before it goes behind the horizon. I happen to know that 6 o'clock will be the last usable image that I get. All right, going back to current time. You see it's currently 19 degrees, almost 20 degrees above the horizon, and I still cannot see it yet. It's still behind the trees. All right, folks, guess what? It just cleared my tree in the southeast back there. We do want it to start guiding. We do want to slew, and we do want to center. Let's fix this up. Okay, we'll see if it goes now. Yep, now it's going. I can tell you it is going in the right direction. It's had to go all the way around there. All right, it thinks it's there. After it does the settle, it'll take a exposure, 2-second exposure. Then it will plate solve to see if it got in the right spot. Okay, it did not get in the right spot. but it knows that. Made a slight adjustment. After it settles, it'll take another picture. There it goes. It's going to plate solve this to see if it got in the right spot this time. Okay, it did get in the right spot because it's starting the guidance sequence. It is guiding, and now it's taking a picture. So here is the last plate solve picture that it did, the 2-second plate solve. And you can already see right here the pads on the cat paw. So there it is right there. So we know it got in the right spot because it's just on that 2-second exposure. You can see them right here. So I can hardly wait to see what a 10-minute exposure is going to look like. All right, about 10 seconds until our first 10-minute HA image comes in. Let's watch it come in right about now. There it is. How about that? How about that? I'm okay with that. Okay, here we are getting ready to go on night 2 of the Cat's Paw Nebula. It's not quite dark yet, so the telescope is set up, pointed towards the north, just waiting on Polaris to come out, where I will do my polar alignment, and then we'll get going on the night's plan. So what I've done is I've gone and built a sequence plan that includes the Markarian chain that I will do again tonight, the first part of the night, until the Cat's Paw Nebula comes up. And then it will switch over to the Cat's Paw Nebula and finish out the night on there. So let me show you how I did that. I go to the Sequence tab. Earlier today, I went and I looked at all of the pictures that I had gotten last night, and I decided what I still need to finish the image out. And I built a sequence for that and saved it. So what I'm going to do is go and load it up. So we're going to go up here, the top right of the Sequence tab, and load a target set. This is one I'd have built earlier today, and it's this one right here. So we'll load that up. I think this is the plan right here that's going to start taking as soon as I get my polar alignment, and it will terminate at 0150 and then switch to the next sequence. So let's move on to it. And from these coordinates here, I know that this happens to be the Cat's Paw Nebula. I did get a bunch of good images last night on the Cat's Paw Nebula, and I put in another image plan that will start roughly 0150 and take me through 6 o'clock, that's where I'll get my last useful image, is at 0600. If I go back to the options here on my imaging tab, you'll see that down here I said park the mount when this last sequence ends, and when warm the camera when the last sequence ends. So when it finishes at 6:12, it's going to park the mount, it's going to warm the camera. So when I walk out of my house at 6:30 this morning, it should all magically have happened. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to resist staying out there and watching it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to let the automation work. Anyhow, that's how I got the sequence set up for tonight. I'll show you how I did it. I went to the file, I went to load image, and then I went and found the images that I had taken from the Markarian's chain, which is the first target. Right here, I loaded the first one of those. So I tell it yes, it's going to think for a minute, pull the image in. There it is. That's the first image I took of the Markarian chain. Now, what I did to build that sequence, I just clicked this button down here, replace as sequence. Now, I'm not going to do that this time because I will, because I can just reload it. So I'm going to go replace as sequence. There we go. Now you'll notice that I've got another sequence plan started where the target right now is Markarian's chain. Now I could go and add on all the images and stuff, but I'm not going to do that because I've already done it. I'm just going to show you how now I got the second target in there from the framing tab. So now I go back again to a file, and this time I'm going to call up one of my images from the Paw Nebula that I took last night. And I'll go with the first HA one. And now it's going to import those coordinates. Ask me, do I want to use them? I do. It's going to think for another minute, pull the image in so we can look at it. There's the framing. I like all that. So now, instead of doing replace, I will go add as sequence target. There. Now, if you look on the sequence tab, I've got two targets up here. The first one is our Markarian's chain. And then the second target, go and look, notice the coordinates changed. Watch those coordinates. So you see, it did pull in the right target for the second sequence. And again, we could just go and build out all the imaging plan, but I've already done that. But I just wanted to show you how I got the two different targets up here. And you could do 3 or 4 of these, I guess however many you wanted to. But tonight we just need the 2. So that's how I got them in there. So I'm going to reload the one that I had previously built. This one here. And now I got my Markarian chain with my image plan and the Paw Nebula with my image plan. So we are set to go. Okay, here I have frozen time in Stellarium at, you can see, 21:01. This is, I fast forwarded it a little bit. It's still 9:15. But I believe that at 21:01 is when I'm going to be able to see Polaris and get this started. So I'll show you what it looks like, the whole night's plan. Let's go over and look at Markarian's chain. Well, it doesn't know where Markarian's chain is at. Fortunately, I do. It was close to Leo's tail, I think. Over here. It's right over here, close to Leo's tail. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, right here, this is the framing that I have on the Markarian's chain. So you'll see as soon as it gets dark, it's up and ready to go. Let me just click here to get the altitude. You see is 60 degrees, so it's already 60 degrees high. And then we're going to do that until 0150. Let me fast forward this and show you what that's going to look like. So about here is when the Paw Nebula clears my tree. So let's go take a look at it. It's just right up here above the tail of Scorpius, right there. So let's click somewhere in here. So at here 20 degrees, almost 21 degrees, that's when it clears my tree and when we'll be switching over to the Paw Nebula, which as it just so happens, our first sequence plan on Markarian's chain will finish up at 0150. Then it will switch over to here to our Paw Nebula just about the same time that it clears the tree. Okay, I thought I'd show you some of the images that we got from last night. Of course, this is a 10-minute HA hydrogen exposure that we got. We looked at a little bit earlier, but if we take a little bit closer look at it, this was the framing that we did want to achieve. So the framing is good. I'm happy with that. We have good signal here. And if I zoom in on it, you can see we have some pretty good detail there. And that detail will get even better when I stack these pictures. Let's take a look at some of the stars. That star is looking pretty round. Let's take a look in the corners. Let's see, here's one up here. That star looks pretty round to me. Check down in this corner. Maybe, yeah, that's pretty round. Check down in the other corner here. Yep. So I'm okay with these stars. I'm okay with the signal in this image. These are going to be good. Let's go take a peek now at what the 03 frames look like. Okay, when my first 03 frame came in, I thought something had gone awry, that I drifted off target or something, because there was almost nothing there. But then when I look a little closer, I can see that the star pattern is the same, and I can see just a little bit of signal here in the middle. So a little bit of 03 signal where the pads are at. So take a look. So not nearly as much 03 signal. There's going to be some, and it will make a contribution, but not like the HA was. Take a look at some stars. They're looking pretty round there. Round in the corner. Now, the fact that it's round in the corner, really what that means is that I got the distance, the focal distance, between my field flattener and the camera sensor correct. Had I not gotten those correct, then up in the corners and on the edges, the stars would be football shaped. But you get that distance correct, and if your field flattener is a good one, then it'll keep the stars round even in the corners. So there's our 03 image. Let's take a look at a sulfur image now. All right, you see that there's definitely more signal here on the sulfur frame. Now you might think that this is a different framing, but no, this is just on the other side of the meridian. That's all. So notice the star with the little star next to it. It used to be up here. So this is just on the other side of the meridian, is why it looks a little different. But look at that signal. Not as much signal as the hydrogen. Definitely more signal than the oxygen. And we see some of the same features here that we saw in the HA frame. These stars, not round. Those are looking a little bit egg-shaped. And I suspect that I had some guiding issues at the particular time that this image was taken. Maybe some clouds came through or something. So I may not be able to use this image. If I only have one or two images with egg-shaped stars, I can probably use it. There's the S2. I think we're getting a good signal on HA03 and S2 that all three are going to contribute to the image. So I will be back with you when Polaris comes out. We're polar aligned, and we are ready to push run on the sequence just to see that it does the right thing to get going. All right, you see it's 8:57. Polaris just came out. I just could see it a couple minutes ago. I am now polar aligned. I went over to the focus star called Denebola, and we are now focused and ready to start on the sequencing plan. Now remember, we're on the star at Denebola. Now if I've got this right, as soon as I hit this button, the telescope is going to move over to Markarian's chain, plates off, turn on guiding, and start taking pictures. So let's see if that happens. Okay, it did everything the right way that time. I'm not going to argue with success. It's going now the way it should. I got to tell you, while we're waiting on this first image to come in, normally I would stay out here and monitor my equipment because I find it's therapeutic to watch the stars go by, learn the movements of the night sky and everything. I enjoy being out with my equipment. However, I have to go to work early in the morning, so I can't stay up all night and then go to work. So that's why I'm happy to give Nina's complete automation a shot. So I can still telescope in the night, but I can sleep and get up early and go to work. So that's what's going on while I'm using the full automation tonight, and time will tell if it worked. Okay, it's morning time. My telescope has been running all night long. Well, I was not out here to watch it, so big question is, did it work? Let's go find out. And I can tell from right here that the telescope did park itself. So that's an early indication that at least it did something it was supposed to do. Yeah, so the telescope is parked, which I guess that means it finished out the sequence. Now, the real question is, did it take any pictures?